Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This is an edited cut down of the best parts of the show, Saturday and Sunday, November 27th and 28th. It's a radio show with pictures. Imagine that. This is episode 721 and 722. And right in the middle there, you might see an interview with Steve Martin. So stay tuned. Well, a good day to you. How are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. And we're in a Black Friday, post-Black Friday funk, pre-Cyber Monday punk. And I'm ready to help you with your purchases. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. 888-827-5536. I guess it was a good Cyber or Black Friday. Now, let me ask you this. Is the idea of a Cyber Monday obsolete now? You know, the whole idea was that, I don't have to tell you, but the day after Thanksgiving in the U.S., and I have to say that because we have many listeners all over the world, none of whom celebrate Thanksgiving when we do in the States. In Canada, they celebrate it in October, so they're long gone. The rest of the world's like, why is everything shut down in the U.S. on Thursday and Friday? In the last Thursday and Friday, November. What's going on? Well, they know, of course, but it is a little odd that we just kind of, we disappear. We're gone, baby. We're eating turkey. Don't bother me. I'm eating my turkey. So for those of you in the rest of the world, the day after Thanksgiving, for completely obscure reasons, in fact, you'd think this is a bad idea. The day after Thanksgiving, everybody heads to the stores. And they call it Black Friday because it's a chance for the retailers to get in the black. The presumption being, and in this case this year, maybe they were right, that the rest of the year has been a wash. They probably lost money. They were in the red. But Friday, baby, after Thanksgiving, hey, that's what we're going to make our money back. We're going to sell all those PlayStations. Got to move those microwave ovens. So the retailers on the day after Thanksgiving do deep discounts. But the thinking was in the early years of the cyber revolution, which you may remember several decades ago, was that people would, go to the stores on Friday, go to the brick and mortar, the physical stores on Friday, and then on the following Monday, when they went back to work, they would take advantage of the boss's high-speed internet and do all their internet shopping on Monday. So they call it Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And in fact, in years past, there has been a leap of commerce on Mondays following Thanksgiving. But it seems to me, maybe I'm wrong, but don't we all have faster internet at home now than we do at work? Hasn't that completely flipped? Who goes to work to use the internet? It's like, no, the internet's terrible. They've got filters on it. I can't do my Facebook and my Twitter. I can't do anything. It's slow. Everybody's doing it. So we all do this, I would presume, at home. So I wonder, isn't it Cyber Friday now? Isn't that the day? Certainly all the tech retailers had some great deals online. In fact, Amazon had the deal of the minute or something. They were doing some weird, quick, buy. Don't think, just press the click. Don't think about it. You need it. Apple did their traditional tepid Black Friday deals. The thing is, Apple never discounts, and Apple controls its retailers so tightly that it's very hard to get a discount on Apple hardware anyway. Software maybe, but on hardware, no, very, very difficult. So when Apple says you'll save $41 on an iPod, that's the deal of the year. It's not even 10%, but it's a deal of the year. And if you'll save $100 on a Macintosh, there were some interesting effects of this. For instance, if you were looking at a MacBook Air, the kind of high-end MacBook Air 11-inch MacBook Air cost exactly the same as the 13-inch MacBook Air. So you kind of got the bigger screen for free. Things like that. I probably shouldn't even mention this because these deals are done, I think, aren't they? Let's see. Yeah, I think they've taken them. Well, shop the holiday gift guide. Now it looks like that was it. It was 1 day only. But the good news is you didn't miss much. They really aren't. They weren't spectacular deals, but a few percentage. I guess it helps. Some bigger deals. It's interesting. Companies like TJ Maxx. This was interesting. They're owned by Marshalls, the Limited. So Marshalls and TJ Maxx went out. This is almost a little bit, I don't know, seedy. They went out and they bought 80. This is the story others have told. I don't know if it's true, but they went out and bought 80 iPads. They have thousands of stores. They bought 80 iPads at their dime, and they charged $100 less. They're not an Apple retailer. They're not an official retailer. So they just scattered, like needles in a haystack. They scattered these $3.99 iPads, but then they made a big deal. While supplies last, limited availability at some stores only. Hey, we've got. They might. You know what? They should have sold them for $3. Why even? They're going to lose $100. Might as well lose it all, right? Because there's only 80 of them. It's the cheapest advertising in history. I mean, it was brilliant. Everybody reported on it. Do not run to a TJ Maxx hoping to get an iPad. I think they sold out in the first 2 seconds. But some of the other retailers, Newegg had some great deals, and they still have them. Amazon, as I mentioned, had some great deals. So there's still some great deals out there. And I think that it was, in fact, as the returns trickle in. It's very much like an election. As the returns trickle in, we see that the retail industry, in fact, had a very good Black Friday yesterday. And expect to do well, for the rest of the season. There was some concern that, according to surveys, that only the wealthy would be spending on Black Friday. But apparently, according to the Los Angeles Times, what was the term they used? It was kind of funny. After round-the-clock sales, fights, and hordes of frenzied shoppers, Black Friday is finally over. By early accounts, how did the retailers fare? They say apparently quite well. Online sales. See, this is confirming what I thought about Cyber Monday. Online sales yesterday, 15.9% increase. Consumers pushing the average order value up from $170 to $190. The luxury sector did very well, 17% increase in sales. Consumers, according to the Times, were very savvy about what they wanted and where they wanted to get it. Shoppers viewed 18, this is interesting, this is what's great about the internet. The amount of information that they know about what we did. We looked at 18% fewer products than last year. They even know what we looked at. Sounds like people that, according to Core Metrics, that did all this research, it sounds like people knew exactly what they were looking for and just went right there. According to John Squire, Chief Strategy Officer at Core Metrics, on Black Friday, consumers came, they clicked, and they shopped. And this time, this sounds like, I think maybe we need, on a day like no other, the consumers came, they clicked, and they shopped their way across the internet. And this time, they weren't just looking for bargains. I wonder if he talks like that. Apparently, a lot of the information people got, and I know this is true because I talked a lot about this on KFI, our affiliate in Los Angeles, and other radio stations. There were Twitter feeds you could follow. There were websites you could follow where the deals were. People are getting smarter. And I love this. This is actually good for everybody. People are getting smarter about how they shop. This is what the internet gives us. It gives us the power to be informed consumers. So, of course, we went right to where we wanted to go because we knew what we wanted. We clicked the link on Twitter and went right to that page. 33% of consumers bought for themselves. Boy, they even know who you're buying for. How would they know that? No gift card, no wrapping. Bought for themselves on Black Friday compared with 26% in a normal holiday period. So I guess we figured, hey, we're not going to get that gift. We're going to buy it for ourselves. And what did they buy? You bet. iPads, iPods. I think Apple did very well. Did you buy something? Let's talk about it. Maybe I can help you use it if you bought it for yourself. 8888 Ask Leo. I'm Leo Laporte, the tech guy. You can call me. See, isn't that, this is how much I care about you. I hung up on my own flesh and blood to talk to you about your computer woes. Of course, Daddy wouldn't be able to pay for college if Daddy didn't take your calls. So Daddy really does have to do this. Jeff, Pacoima, California, you're first. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Yeah, hi, Leo.
Hey, Jeff.
I'm looking to buy a projector, because I do a lot of presentations in my business, and also because I was thinking of having a projector in my bedroom to project onto this, for watching movies and stuff like that.
Wow.
And I was online looking at some of these projectors, and I'm getting a little confused. I see all these things where they say, oh, this is an HD projector, but then I look at the resolution, and it says 800 by 600 resolution.
Yeah, that ain't HD, is it? You're smart. So what you're looking at is the native resolution of the projector. And it's the same thing with flat panel displays. These are all digital displays now, so they have an actual resolution, just like your computer display has. If you want true HD, it's got to be at least 720 in the vertical, 720 lines. Yeah. And truthfully, at this point, for a long time I said, don't worry about 1080. But now with Blu-ray and I just think 1080, you might as well future-proof. In most cases, it doesn't cost more. Projectors might be different. We'll talk about that in a second. But if you're buying a TV, look for one that has 1080 lines top to bottom. Now, projectors are very expensive. And this is one way that they make them affordable. Are you looking at television projectors or PowerPoint projectors? Are you looking at ones intended for television?
Well, I was looking at like this one that says, home theater projector. It has an HDMI. It has component. It has all that stuff.
Okay, yeah, that's intended for TV. So what they're doing is they're downscaling high def. So when they say high def HD, what they're really saying is we could take an HD signal. You won't see an HD picture. Shh. But we could take an HD signal. So it's how much you can afford. The truth is, 600 lines is going to look pretty good. A DVD is 480. And one of the reasons Blu-ray hasn't taken off is that for a lot of people, even on a big screen, they look and they say, "Wow, that looks my DVD looks pretty darn good. I don't need a high def." But if you're going to play Blu-ray into it, or you're going to use HD from the satellite or on air or cable, you might want 720p. The truth is, 1080 is only necessary for a Blu-ray. That's the only thing that's going to give you 1080. Scott Wilkinson, our home theater guy, is going to join us tomorrow, and he'll probably have a whole. I'm sure he's listening, but he's have a whole bunch of things. Here's the ones I like the best for the home entertainment projectors. I like the Epsons the best, and I think they're. I mean, look, if you have Scott will tell you, I could spend $20,000 on a TV projector with Runco or Christie or one of the high end stuff. But if I take it you don't have tens of thousands to spend.
No, I mean, we have a 4K projector at our company but
4K? Wow.
I don't want to use it. I have a Sony 4K projector at my company, but we use that for when we have, when we do big high-end red productions and stuff.
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
teleprint. Oh, you know what you're talking about, Jeff. Okay. Yeah, because only a red camera could do. 4K is quad high def.
Yeah, but if I run that, it's like the bulbs cost like.
Yeah, no. You're not going to take that home and use it in the bedroom. How big is... Now, the thing to know is a projector, one of the reasons people use projectors is because you can make them 80 inches. It's as big as your screen and how far away you can get from the screen. Yeah. So when you're going that big, 600 lines, you're going to see it's not going to look great. You're going to want... The bigger the screen, the higher the def that you want.
Right.
So that's one thing. How are you going to project against the... You're going to get a screen or you can project against the wall?
I was going to paint my wall.
Good. Yeah, you have to. If you're going to use a wall, you have to use some. You don't have to, but it's best to use. Scott would say you got to get this special screen paint.
Yeah.
And it has to be really flat. You can't have any texture surface on the wall. It's got to be flat with that screen paint on it. But then that gives you a good result. I would. What's your budget for this?
Well, I was trying to. Stay under $500, $600.
Oh, geez, Louise. Okay, that's why you're seeing 600.
Yeah, well, I mean, I see these projectors like on eBay for like $200 for a 1080p projector.
Yeah, well, no, it's not. No,
You know,
those are PowerPoint projectors. I would look at the Epson Movie Mate.
okay.
They start at $650 list. They have all the features designed for this. I doubt very much you're going to get it. You're not going to at that price point going to get a 1080p.
Yeah, no, I wasn't thinking. I just want something that's decent that's okay for home and something I can take on the road when I do. That if it gets stolen or something
Right.
smashes it, it's not going to be the end of my world.
Yeah, the cheap Epson Movie Mate is only $960 by $540. In other words, it's good enough for watching a DVD, but it's not going to give you true high def.
Yeah.
If you're willing to spend $900 on the Epson, then it goes 1280 by 800, so it's a 720p projector, which is true HD. And I think, in your price range, that's about as good as you're going to get.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, can I tell you my Black Friday story?
Yeah.
I went to Fry's with a friend that gets some good deals, and all that. It was he waited from 10 o'clock at night till 5 o'clock in the morning to get in.
Hi.
And he waited 2 hours in line to get his item.
And what was it that he was willing to spend that much of his time and lose a whole night's sleep for? What was it that he got?
He got a 32-inch television for $200.
That's good. It was an Emerson or something, right?
It was a Samsung.
Oh, well, that's pretty good. Okay.
And he got three. I got three HD 23-inch monitors for $99.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, they're good deals, but it wasn't worth.
I think people do it for the event, right? You don't do it for the deal. I mean, maybe you do.
I don't know, but it was silly. I wouldn't do it again.
No. Well, bravo on you for at least trying it once. You've now joined the mass of humanity who has experienced a true Black Friday event. I'm like most guys. I wait till Christmas Eve to do my shopping. What do you mean? It's November. I'm not buying any Christmas gifts now. I'm waiting to Christmas Eve. I guess Hanukkah's coming up Wednesday. So if you need Hanukkah gifts, Black Friday this year is perfectly timed. But I haven't even started thinking about Christmas gifts. I think I like to join the true guys out there. When you go out, this is, to me, a cultural experience. At 9 p.m. Christmas Eve, you're hanging with the real guys. And you're fighting over electric swizzle sticks and stuff because it's down to the dregs. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo. That's the phone number. Back to the phones we go. Lots of people calling in. Nina, Northampton, Massachusetts. You're our next caller. Hi, Nina.
Yes. Hello.
Hey.
How nice to get through to you.
Well, you did a good job. You got through right at the beginning of the show. That's almost impossible.
Well, I don't know how I did it. Just lucky, I guess. So I have questions about 3 areas of HD video.
Okay.
I have a side business where I do event videography.
Cool.
And I've been using a 3-chip mini DV camera for years. But everyone's going to HD now, and I think I need to make the jump. But it means I need a new camera.
Yes.
I need a more powerful computer, and I need better software.
Very good. You're exactly right. A lot of people just say, I just need a new camera, and then they get it on their old computer, and it's like, let's go work on it.
Well, my computer cannot handle AVC HD files natively, and yet it's hundreds and hundreds of dollars to upgrade both the computer and the software. So I wonder if you.
So what do you use these HD videos for? Are they only seen on the web or?
No. I do things like I shoot concerts and plays at a school, and then we put them on DVD to raise money for the parent-teacher organization.
Oh, that's great. Almost all the camcorders sold these days are HD. In fact, there's a lot of cheap ones that are HD. And for a DVD, for instance, they're going to be adequate. You're right. A lot of the expense is going to be getting better hardware to edit it with. Because there's a lot more data. Although, I'll tell you this, a lot of times we will shoot HD quality and then import it at half. So we'll shoot 1080 and import it at 540p. And by doing that, you make it a smaller file that's, half the size, easier to edit, much easier on the hardware. And you know what? It's about 80% of the quality.
Well, that was another question. If I shoot HD, and I can obviously get a Blu-ray burner, but if I put it out on a regular DVD, what is my HD quality going to look like?
If it's a video DVD, not a data DVD, it's going to be
Video DVD.
Yeah, it's going to be 480p.
And is it going to look better than what I've been getting?
Well, garbage in, garbage out. The higher the quality you shoot, the higher the quality the DVD will look. But it's certainly not. DVD does not do HD.
Right.
So it'll be 480p. That's what we call enhanced definition. Yes, it'll look better because you're using better cameras. If you're using better cameras, but this is why it's a little confusing, because you can go out and buy a flip cam HD that says this is HD. Well, the chip that's picking up the data is not HD. They up-res it, and then you're going to down-res it, and then frankly, it's not going to look better. If you used a very high-quality, high-def camera, it would look better. I think there's a lot of flim-flam going on in this spec HD. To me, if something's HD, it needs to record at least 720 progressive lines. That's real HD. And true HD, sometimes they put true HD on the box. That means, to me, 1,080 lines. This is the top to bottom. That's how you define it. 1,080 lines from top to bottom. That's true HD. But a lot of these cameras say HD, and they're not. Mm-hmm. So, in a lot of cases, especially if you're going to DVD, I think you'd be, a better camera, even if it's not HD, would give you better results than a, quote, HD camera that's just up-resed. A flip cam is not going to give you as good a result, even though it says it's HD.
Well, I usually take my sound off the soundboard, so I need a camera that at least has a line or a mic input and something that I can monitor the sound with headphones. So I know I'm not going flip cam. I'm not going...
Actually, okay, yeah, I'd agree with you. Okay, do you do photography as well?
Yes, but I think the problem with doing it with a DSLR is that you can't shoot 2 hours in a row.
Because you're doing lectures, you can't stop and start, stop and start.
And isn't there a time limit if you're doing HD with the DSLR?
Well, here's where I thought it was a technical limit. Somebody told me, the Canon 5D Mark II chip will overheat, and so they have to stop every 20 minutes to cool the chip off, and maybe that's true. But then, I have a Panasonic GH1, and there's a firmware hack that removes this artificial limit. And the truth is, the artificial limit is because the tax rate is higher in Europe for video cameras than it is for still cameras. And the definition is something that records more than 30 minutes. So they artificially lock it in at 30 minutes so they don't have to charge the higher tax rate. But if you take off, but that's not a technical limit. So as an example, it's about $1,300 with a great lens, a Panasonic GH1. It will shoot Final Cut ready video after the hack. You have to hack the firmware, which is safe to do. It's just changing some settings in the firmware. It's not actually modifying the firmware in any way. It's unlocking capabilities of the firmware. And then it shoots very high quality, HD. It has mic in. It has good stereo mics on top of it. And as far as I know, it will shoot until you fill the chip. 2 hours, is that how much you have to shoot?
Well, that's how long the concerts are or the plays, at least 2 hours.
Yeah, so I don't think a DSLR is a good choice for you. It's a great choice for somebody who is a photographer and wants to shoot really high, use really good lenses and really high quality, but not for something like that. You're doing more documentary style filming. You need a video camera.
Yeah, I've been looking at the Canon Vixia series. Do you know them at all?
Yeah, they're very good. They're excellent. Highly recommended.
And those are genuine HD, I believe.
Some of them are, yeah, I believe so. They are AVC HD, though, so you will need to upgrade your hardware for that.
Right. And I live in a PC world, so I've been using Premiere Pro, but...
Well, that's a great program. You can't go
have
wrong.
to upgrade to the latest
Right.
to be able to natively edit the AVC.
You might try just going to Premiere Elements. You may find you don't give up so much, and it's $79.
And you can natively edit it. It doesn't have to transcode it?
No, all the new versions, even, to be honest, Windows Movie Maker now does AVC HD.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's such a standard. It's just the older software that didn't understand it. iMovie on a Mac does AVC HD.
Okay. Well, that's a lot better than the upgrade price of hundreds of dollars on my Premiere Pro.
It certainly is. And I suspect, you should look at the comparison, but I suspect Premiere Elements will do the stuff that you care about.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what the system requirements are for AVC HD? You know, how much...
Well, what's your system?
Computer.
What? What's your system? What processor?
I've got a dual... It's about a 3-year-old system.
Oh, you'll be fine. If you have a Core... You have a Core 2 in there, and you probably have 2 gigs of RAM. You might upgrade to 4 gigs. Core 2's...
I have 4 gigs.
Okay, you're fine. I think you'll be fine.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, thanks so much.
You're welcome, Nina. Good luck. There's a lot of choices. You know, I don't think people are buying video cameras as much as they used to, because even a pocket camera, like the new 950, the Canon 950, is it SD 950? I think it is. Shoot incredible HD video, 720p HD, just beautiful. And then you can, do a lot of the things you would do, and you don't have to carry 2 different cameras. But for somebody who's doing a documentary, you need a video camera. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More calls right after this. I have to say, I think it's easier and easier to shoot video. I don't want to dismiss the flip cams. Those are great. A lot of people using them. I kind of like, better than the flip cam, the Kodak ZI-8, precisely because it has a jack, an audio jack, so you can use better microphones with it. And if you're doing documentary stuff, the kind of stuff our last caller was doing, you can't just have the microphone on the camera pick up the audio. In fact, what you'd like to do is run a microphone up on stage with a speaker directly. And that's completely possible to do, even with a ZI-8. You have to buy a little device called a Beach Tech, and then you have to buy some Sennheiser or the like wireless microphone receivers, which plug into the Beach Tech, which plugs into the ZI-8, and then you have the wireless mics on the podium. You can totally do it. It's going to cost more than the ZI-8, much more. Just the Sennheiser wireless mics alone are $400 or $500, but you'll get good sound. People deprecate how I think they don't take seriously sound in video. And I just think about it. A bad video with good sound is tolerable. A good video with terrible sound is not. Maybe it's my, predisposition towards high quality sound because I've been in radio for 30 years. What is it? 30 since 1976. 34, be 35 years next year. And, of course, I'm focused on sound, but I really do believe that good sound is very important, and sometimes people do not pay enough attention to it. And you just look at some of those videos on YouTube, and you'll see what I'm saying. Whereas the video can stutter and buffer and stuff, but as long as the sound is good, you can make out what's going on. We got to get to Andrew. He's calling from Brisbane in Australia via Skype. Hi, Andrew. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo.
Thanks for calling all the way from Brisbane.
Yeah. I'm traveling to the US soon. I've just bought myself a Windows phone.
Oh, yeah. I love the Windows phone. Now, in Australia, is it Telstra? Who is it that offers the Windows phones?
About 3 different carriers, actually.
Great. And they're all GSM?
So, yeah. Yes.
So presumably now the only issue, of course, is the frequencies, the GSM frequencies. But I presume you checked with your carrier that it would roam in the U.S.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I don't want to roam because for 60 megabytes, it's going to cost $160 apparently.
Wow. Yeah,
so,
yeah, that's a lot. Wow. Yeah, data roaming is very expensive.
Yeah.
So you want to get a U.S. carrier SIM card to put in your phone?
I do. I'm a little worried that you might not be able to do that because I've read some places that you can't do that because they're often used as remote detonation devices, and so they don't sell them unless you live in that country.
Well, there are a couple of issues. First of all, if your phone must be unlocked.
Oh yes, it is.
I think that's the case in most of the world, but in the U.S. often, and I'm saying this for our U.S. listeners, not for you, Andrew, but in the U.S. almost always when you buy a phone, it's locked to a carrier. So I can't really take this Windows phone I have from AT&T and go to France with it. I'm going to France next week. And pop in a French SIM because it'll go, no, this is not American. I need an American SIM. I need AT&T. It's called locked. Now, it is legal to unlock these phones, but it does require some technical expertise. In most of the rest of the world, the phone is sold unlocked for precisely this reason because, Americans, I guess we just don't think about travel, but in the rest of the world, people travel, and they want to be able to go to another country and pop in a SIM card, which gives them a local number. You might be right. I don't know what the reverse experience is. AT&T. There are two carriers in the U.S. that you could use: T-Mobile or AT&T.
That's T-Mobile's the one I'm looking at. Okay,
and you must again verify that we are on the same frequencies because there can be GSM frequency differences. So I would check that. Make sure that your phone supports the T-Mobile GSM frequencies.
Yeah, apparently it will because it's a quad-band phone.
Good. So it has all the bands.
Yes.
Then the next issue is, will T-Mobile sell you a SIM chip without a contract? I think they will. I know AT&T has a Go card that you can do that with, and the ID.
Yeah, I'm looking for a prepaid one.
Yeah, exactly. Prepaid SIM. I'm pretty sure AT&T does that. If I don't know off the top of my head, I know AT&T does. Now the next question is, will it include data? That's another issue. It might work as a phone, but it might not have a data account. Let me check here and see if I can help you. They've just Greg Bilton in the chat room has just given me a link to tmobile.com/shop/phones. T-Mobile SIM card ready for your GSM device, compatible with any T-Mobile phone. Boy, I wish they would, they just don't give enough information about, I'm sure you visited this site, about what you get with it. I think you're going to have to, I don't know, I think you're going to have to call T-Mobile. Maybe somebody will in the audience will have an experience having done this, coming to the U.S. and using a T-Mobile SIM card. You got to have data, and how much is that data going to cost? The other option, of course, you've got Wi-Fi on your phone.
Yes,
and I'm sure this is as is the case in Australia, that as you go around. Where are you going in the U.S.?
I'm going to San Francisco, L.A., and Vegas.
You'll have no trouble getting Wi-Fi almost everywhere. Yeah. Yeah. So the hotels certainly, coffee shops. Every Starbucks has free Wi-Fi. So one thing you could do is turn off data roaming. I would recommend this, by the way. Turn off data roaming, and then just use Wi-Fi. You won't always be in contact, but you'll at least, when you get to a Wi-Fi spot, and there's a lot of open Wi-Fi in the U.S., especially in those three, in San Francisco, everywhere. L.A., almost everywhere. Vegas, almost everywhere. You're not going to have too much difficulty. And there's a Starbucks everywhere, and they all have it.
Okay, because, there's not that much open Wi-Fi in Australia yet.
Yeah. Yeah, no, so my suggestion would be don't turn off data roaming. Use the Wi-Fi. That's free. And then... You still need a SIM for local calls, although if you're willing to pay for call roaming, you might not need a SIM. Just use the Australia. Because I just tell people, don't call me. I'm in the States. Don't call me. I remember how expensive we did that actually when I went to Tasmania a couple of years ago. I used a SIM, and it was very, very expensive. Data especially is very expensive in Australia. $60, 60 megabytes for what did you say? $160? That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
that's absurd.
Yeah, it's just.
So I would say just forget it. Just use Wi-Fi. You will be able to get Wi-Fi every day somewhere.
Okay.
Are you going to come? If you come to San Francisco, come visit us, will you?
Yeah, that was my second question. Can I come visit the TWiT cottage?
Of course. I have an open studio. You're welcome to come by. We're here almost every day of the week. But email my sister Eva at twit.tv and let her know that the day you'd like to be here. She will verify that I'm going to be here. I've got a lot of travel and stuff coming up. And that the cottage isn't full because there's only room for a few people in here. It's a small studio.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andrew. I look forward to seeing you. Enjoy your travels to the U.S. How long is the trip?
3 weeks.
Oh,
out of Australia.
You're gonna have a blast. You picked 3 very interesting destinations. They're very different.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see Silicon Valley and stuff like that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, people do. There's a geek trail people go. They go to the HP garage. They go to Apple and Cupertino. They go to Google. Both Apple and Google have company stores you can go shop in. Sometimes they come up to San Francisco and stand outside of Twitter, and it's kind of fun. And I hope you'll include the Twit Cottage in that. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Mad Magazine's maddest writer, Dick D. Bartolo. Hey, Dick.
Leo, how you doing, pal?
I am fantastic. Look, he's wearing a T-shirt that says Dick's Gadget Warehouse.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the deal with that?
Oh, the deal, that's one of those color spot printing. They made a bunch of Daily Gizwiz T-shirts.
Well, that's
and
neat.
This is one of them. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
So we have
you can customize it.
We have a few minutes before the end of the show, so let's get to your gadget. Dick does a podcast that I should mention this. We do every day called a Daily Gizwiz at twit.tv. Every day in
When did that start? That sounds good.
Oh, only about what? How many episodes have we done, Dick?
Let's see. We're coming up to like 1,250 or something.
Only a few years ago.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one of the things we talked about on that show, which I thought the radio listeners might be interested in, is from Violite, because now people are saying your cell phone has more germs than your toilet seat. Yes, yes, exactly.
What?
Yeah, well,
I guess your toilet gets cleaned every once in a while. Who cleans?
That's
who cleans
exactly
their
right.
cell
And
phone?
you touch things, and you touch your cell phone. Your cell phone is warm, nice and cozy for the germs. Then you put the cell phone up against your ear.
Look, it's the end of the show. I don't want to get the listeners to irp up.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, all right. So it's an ultraviolet light cleaner from Violite, and you take the little cap off, drop in your phone. It can't be a flip phone, but like iPhones, any phone that stands straight up goes in there. Put the cover on. There's 2 safety interlocks. As soon as both locks are locked, that's when you push the lid closed. The ultraviolet light comes on. About 4 minutes for it to sanitize a phone.
It's basically like dry cleaning for your iPhone.
Exactly. And there's a little basket in there. So if you want to do your earbuds or your Bluetooth headset, you can throw that in there and do that too.
That's really neat. How much is
clean?
How much?
It's under $50.
I don't know if he's squeaky, but I'm not sure that's a good.
Maybe squeaky. Maybe that was the Bluetooth headset making that noise. Someone said to me, well, at the demo, they said, I still see fingerprints. And I said, lady, it's not a washing machine. It's a sanitizer.
Well, that's a good point. If you've got lumps of food, peanut butter, that kind of thing, it won't get rid of that. But the germs will be gone.
Yeah, they'll taste better.
Dick D. Bartolo. Go to his website, gizwiz.biz, GIZWIZ.biz, for a chance to win a Mad Magazine and the What the Heck Is It contest. And of course, all details on all the little gadgets and gizmos that he talks about on our show every day, the Daily Gizwiz. And we'll see you next week, Dick.
I'll be here.
All right. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Do we have a billboard for this?
No.
All right. Well, then I won't bother with a billboard because I have a very famous face sitting across from me. This is the first time I've ever used Apple's FaceTime.
And me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's working.
It's working good.
Yeah. Now you're on your iPhone, is that right?
I actually bought a little iPhone holder yesterday at the store, and it's working good. I clipped it to my computer screen so I can look right into it. I was going to have to sort of balance it on things, but it's a pretty good little device.
That's cool.
So you'll send me a check for that. It was
absolutely. We will reimburse you, and I notice you're using a very nice headset.
Got a little headset that I always use. I'm a professional, and I even have a little lighting thing here.
I noticed that. and according to the Twitter, you have the makeup team and the team of advisors in there.
Makeup advisors and a team of lawyers.
Are they whispering in your ear? If I ask you a question,
they're holding up cards. Don't answer that. They're saying.
You know, it's kind of fun to see you on Twitter. When did you start using Twitter?
When it was about early September.
Recently.
Yeah, it was very recent, and I did it kind of on a whim. I was actually talking to a friend of mine, Tom Hanks, and I said, what do you do on it? And he says, I kind of talk about my movie, keep people interested in it, and I had some things coming out. My book and my record is out next year, and I have a movie coming out. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. But once I started doing it, I didn't have the heart to really promote stuff without serving up some content first. So I just started doing it. I really didn't understand it, and I started writing these little kind of narrative stories that I think I overdid it at first, but then I...
Oh, no, it's been fun. It's actually quite fun. On Twitter, by the way, I haven't said who we're talking to. It's Steve Martin. And,
oh, my God.
I know. I love him.
I'm so excited.
And your Twitter handle is @SteveMartin2Go, which I like, because did somebody have Steve Martin?
Well, I had the option. I could have gotten Steve Martin. I said, no, I like Steve Martin to go.
Yeah.
So I just stuck with that.
Yeah. It's like a lunchbox version of Steve Martin. A bento box.
Yeah. It's my head in a box.
Do you find 140 characters limiting? I mean,
No, actually, you know what I've been trying to do? First, I kind of like it because I don't think people want to read too much. And I've been trying to stay away from LOLs and little abbreviations and trying to be grammatical. And I found that the present tense is much better than the past tense because it's actually shorter. And
might kind of be an interesting discipline for a writer, actually.
I like it. So it maybe sets me off from the others. I don't know. But I still don't understand a few things. I wanted to ask you a few questions.
Well, I'm here for you. I'm here for you.
I understood. I finally figured, somebody told me about direct reply. See, when I was first doing it, I was doing little narrative stories. So I didn't want to interrupt the flow of the next tweet by doing a response, because then they wouldn't be in sequence, my little tweets, my little narrative tweets.
Right.
So I didn't do that. And then I found out about a direct reply where you could respond to someone directly.
Right.
So I would do that and send them a sort of a private email. And then someone told me that you could, then I figured out that you could just reply, but I don't know what people are seeing. You know what I mean? If I reply to someone, here's my question.
Okay.
If I reply to someone, does that go out to all my followers? Or does that just go to them?
I will confess that I did not know at first, and I was misusing it. So I can tell you from bitter experience what happens. When Twitter first started, there was no @sign. Users actually were the people who created the @sign, because in the early days of Twitter, back in 2007, people would sometimes want to direct a tweet to somebody, so they'd put that person's Twitter handle with an @ in front of it, just kind of as an informal shorthand way of saying, "Hey, this, I'm responding to somebody." The folks at Twitter, I think, very cannily said, "Oh, this is a feature," and incorporated into Twitter. So now when you put an @ and say @Leo Laporte or @SteveMartin2Go, all in one word, it's a clickable link. People can click it, go to that person's stream and see and follow them. So it's a good thing for discovery. But they also added, I think, a nice feature. If you begin a tweet, let's say you're responding to something I said, and you begin the tweet with @Leo Laporte, that will only be visible. This is the rule, and it's not obvious. I'm sure it's documented somewhere, but that will only be visible to you and people who follow Leo.
I see.
So it doesn't, in fact, if somebody's just following you and not following me, they won't see it. Which is why sometimes you'll see when I respond to people, I will put some regular text, "Thank you, @SteveMartin2Go," and then more text. Now that's seen, everybody sees that.
Now, do you have to cut and paste that, or?
Well, you can, and if it depends what do you use to tweet? I know you're an iPad user.
Yeah, but I usually use my computer.
You just use the web.
I use the web, and I have my little Twitter thing, and it's so if I see something, if you respond to me, for example, I come down here and it'll say reply, retweet, favorite, give me the time. But I usually click on reply. So that if I reply to someone, it goes to them and their followers.
Them and their followers. Your followers won't see it unless they also follow the person you're talking to.
Okay.
So it's a way of having a little bit of privacy. Now, if I go and I look at Steve Martin's entire tweet stream, I'll see everything you've said. So most recently, you tweeted the real Sister Wendy, well, then get a podcast life. Now, I can see that.
His Sister Wendy was complaining that he or she had to download a Flash. So I suspected he was on an iPad.
Right.
You had the download flash.
So you're answering people's tech questions.
Pardon me?
You're taking my job. You're answering people's tech questions.
Oh, that's the point of this call. I'm trying to take over your job.
So anyway,
I can do stand up. Oh, sorry.
No, I can't. So there you go. I see that only when I go to. If I were following Real Sister Wendy, I'd see it. But if I am only following you, I'll see it only when I go to your list of tweets.
Got it. But if I retweet,
that's everybody who follows you sees that.
And does it include what they sent to me?
Well, now Twitter kind of screwed this one up. There was an informal syntax for retweeting where you would just copy the entire tweet, add RT at the beginning to say, I'm not saying this, I'm retweeting somebody else's. Sometimes there were different ways of, informal ways of doing this. You'd put an RT, or you'd put via Steve Martin to go, or you'd put it in quotes or not. By the way, did you invent the air quotes? Because somebody in the Wikipedia it says
no,
you invented those. Okay.
No, that existed a long time ago.
Thank goodness, because for the last 6 months, every time I do that, I've been saying, copyright Steve Martin. So I'll stop that now.
No, I didn't invent that at all.
Okay.
We used it on an early show. We kind of made fun of it, but
Right.
It was many years ago. So I kind of got credit for something I didn't
It's
do.
public domain now.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of the traditional retweet. Now Twitter, about a year ago, added this kind of button that says retweet, and it does something much more mechanical, which is just kind of takes the original tweet and puts it in your stream without any RT or via or anything. And there's some debate about whether that's the right way to do it. In fact, some clients will give you a choice of old style retweeting or new style. You'll see.
So if I press retweet on my little computer here, it's just going to it's going to send out what they sent me. I can't add a response to it.
You can't put anything in it. It will merely put that retweet into your stream. It put that original tweet into your stream with a little, it does a little kind of sometimes hard to see inset of that person's picture on yours, and it says it's a retweet, but it's not
sometimes
obvious.
People send me something funny, and I'd like to sort of send it out but add my comment.
I'll tell you how to do that when we come back. Can you hold on for a second?
Okay.
Steve Martin's joining us. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More of your calls coming up. We're still on the live stream, Steve, just not on the radio.
So I leave my pants on.
Keep the pants on.
Okay.
Hey, and I'll mention this on the air, but I did not expect to love this as much as I did. This is a great book. It really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, in fact, I said this on Twitter, the only objection I have is it's too short. You really get engrossed in this person, these people, and the art world, and you could, Joyce Carol Oates says it's reminds her of the age of innocence, but it is about this era. That's pretty nice.
That is very rare.
It's a very nice blurb. Looks like it was done by a pro, but it was done by you in minutes. Yeah, you kind of want. I guess you could write a sequel.
Well, her story is told.
Yeah, you don't seem like the sequel kind of guy, to be honest.
Yeah, not in this area. In movies, yes. But so we'll continue with this chat. But then I have one other, if we have time, one other area to go to, which is, but I don't know if it's interesting to your listeners.
Oh, don't worry about that. Don't. You're inherently interesting, so it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Don't worry about them.
It has to do with the iPhone and even the Droid time zones. When it starts changing all my time zones on.
Oh, do you use Google Calendar?
I do use Google. I mean, I use it only to sync with. Well, why do? Oh, so my assistant.
Why do I use it? She uses it. She uses it probably too. Yeah, because then they can.
Well, go ahead.
They can. Yeah. So that Google Calendar has time zone support. So if you turn on time zone support, it's supposed to automatically adjust it for the time zones you're in.
Yeah, but it changes my appointments.
I know.
3 hours later.
That's because if you would just sit still, you wouldn't have this problem. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Hey, if you rotate your phone.
Yeah.
It should just rotate this to go full screen. Let's see what happens here.
Okay.
Can your holder rotate? Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
That's even better.
Okay.
That's really good. And then when I go full screen to you, you fill up the screen. I've got this really jerry-rigged, but it works. Can you hear me okay, or is it a little hard to hear? Because I'm using the laptop mic, unfortunately.
No, I can hear you.
Okay.
Sometimes I drop a word, but I can figure out what that word was.
It's not ideal. We have to. Yeah, that looks good. That's much better. Now your head is as big as mine.
My lighting.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
I've had this desk light for 20 years. I've never had a use for it.
Do you write on a computer? I imagine you do.
I do write on a computer. You know, I was going to talk to you. My first computer was a display writer.
Oh, wow.
And I would, if I wanted to move a paragraph, I wrote 3 Amigos on it. If I wanted to move a paragraph, I would leave the room for 30 minutes.
We're done now. You can come back. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a little better now. Do you use screenwriting software, or do you just use a word processor?
I do when I'm writing a screenplay, but I haven't done that for a couple of years now. So I'd have to purchase a whole new system.
Probably would.
New software.
Probably would. What did you write the novel in? Just in Word, or?
Word, yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. I love writing on the computer.
You know, there's a science fiction novelist, Neil Stephenson, who uses longhand with fountain pens on a yellow pad.
Who does that?
Neil Stephenson. And if you go to, he's a really great writer. If you go, but he's also prolific, which means it's a lot of writing. If you go to the Science Fiction Museum in Seattle, there's a 6-foot-tall stack of yellow legal pads and about 800 boxes of Pilot fountain pens that he used to write his last novel. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo's the number. Steve Martin is here. Yeah, that's Steve Martin. You know, I suppose there are other Steve Martins, but this is...
yeah, there are a lot of them, actually. I feel sorry for them.
This is the Steve Martin, and Steve Martin to go is his Twitter handle. By the way, great website. Very funny. I love the...
Thanks.
I love the yellow pad note to yourself about what to do on stage, which I think has kind of fallen off the front page now.
Thank you.
Really great. That's stevemartin.com. He is Steve Martin to go on Twitter. You don't do Facebook, though.
No, I have a page on Facebook that was created when my first album, The Crow, my only banjo record, came out. I have another one coming out in March, by the way. But it was created for me, but I never really got into it. In fact, I looked at someone else's Facebook page just yesterday. I logged in, and Facebook immediately started sending out invitations to my entire contact list, and I just logged off.
Yeah, just unplug the computer when that happens.
Yeah,
and run.
Yeah.
But you're not strangers to technology. Would you characterize yourself as technically literate? You've used.
I'd say I'm computer literate, but I'm not. I'm not a techie. I wouldn't know. I don't think I could set up a router, but I could. I'm pretty savvy enough.
Yeah.
I like it.
Good.
I mean, here's my cell phone.
It's a stapler. It's very yeah.
It's a stapler.
Good reception though.
Yeah, I'm not getting good reception.
Be careful with the ear. You don't want to stick that in there. And I'll give you a plug as long as we're plugging for the new book. By the way, really great. To be honest, when a comedian and movie star writes a book, you go, well, okay, let's see. But Shop Girl was brilliant. And this is your first full-length novel, An Object of Beauty.
First, yes. Mm-hmm.
Or
An Object of Beauty.
You've tried on Twitter. You've tried some abbreviations.
Smoob. A lot of people send in very good ones. Very good. Very good abbreviations for An Object of Beauty. Obooty.
Obooty. I like that.
There was Smoob, Steve Martin's Object of Beauty.
Those are the Smoob.
There was Nobobo. There was I like this one, Jectobute.
I liked Jectobute. That was I was going to call it Jectobute.
Yeah. Booty was one. That goes on and on.
An Object of Beauty, brand new, I actually have read the whole thing,
wow.
cover to cover. Well, you know,
that's more than the television interviewers do.
I know. I watched Charlie Rose kind of flip through it and go, and Paige, yeah. No, you know what? This one was a kind of a labor of love. And once I started it, I fell in love with it. And your character, what's her name? Fantastic.
Lacey Yeager.
Lacey Yeager. Yes. Yeah. No, it's about the. Well, when we talked last week, you said, "Oh, your audience is going to be interested. It's about the New York art scene." But actually, that's just the backdrop for the characters. But that's a fascinating backdrop.
It is. It's a very. I've been involved in it for 30 years, and I love the art world. I really, it really has affected my life. Actually, being involved with paintings and art, and artists and dealers and people who love art, collectors. And, of course, the paintings themselves, let's not forget them.
Yeah. Your Twitter, if people want to see a little of Steve's collection, his Twitter photo
That's right.
has an Eric Fischl.
You got it right, an Eric Fischl. How'd you know that was an Eric Fischl painting?
I didn't know. I had to. I searched for it, but I found it. Mm-hmm. And the reason I found it is because I think you had this on exhibit at the Bellagio at one point.
I did, actually. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, just to sum up on this retweet.
Oh, yes, we haven't finished our retweet. It
sounds like it's maybe not so valuable to me.
Well, I think what you should do is the old-style retweet. If you want to comment, if you want to, kind of gloss what somebody has tweeted, which I often want to do as well, the best thing is to cut and paste. But what you do is you have two choices. I think the best way is to preface it with RT, capital R, capital T. Usually I will put you might have to edit it because, of course, you got to get it into 140 characters.
Right. Yeah.
So you can put.
Sounds like a lot of work.
This is why, by the way, there's a retweet button where you do nothing. You just say okay. But if you want to gloss it, you cut it, you paste it. I would paste in their at sign right at the beginning there. I usually put their tweet in quotes and then put my addition at the end. You can use ellipsis if you edit it. I think it's a good thing to do. I think this is really, in all seriousness, and I think a lot of people, kind of don't get Twitter or mock Twitter. It is a form, and I
think it's like radio, because I can actually create a scene in people's heads that it's like listening to old radio.
I agree.
You can put people on a train, or you can put them on a plane, or they can see things that it's like being in an animated cartoon. I can have a monkey running at the airport.
That's right. And you have.
I still don't quite understand how I cut and paste all this, but I see. So I just copy this. I would copy it.
Paste it into the window.
Tweet window.
Yeah. Precede it with capital R, capital T. I usually leave.
How do you spell that? Capital R, capital T, and that's an actual.
This is
code.
what. Yeah, it's what people did before Twitter added this retweet button, and I think still many people prefer it. If you search for RT, you'll see a lot of retweets.
Right. And then I would put my response in a bracket or something.
Well, yeah. Somehow signal it. There's really no convention for that.
I see. Okay.
There are, and if you try, you might want to look at some other clients instead of using Twitter's own website.
I see.
TweetDeck, Seismic Desktop, a lot of these will give you a choice of new school or old school retweeting.
Yeah. By the way, I wanted to tell you my term for when you're very happy with a piece of software.
Yes.
And then they improve it. And then it's no longer functional, and they've taken out your favorite part. I call those deprovements.
It's been deproved.
Yes.
It seems to happen a lot.
Voodoo. I used to use Voodoo all the time to watch movies on, and then it was sold to Walmart, and they improved it to the point that I can no longer use it. I call that they deproved it.
Have you tried the Roku box? I think you'd like that.
I'm getting one installed.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think you'd like that quite a bit. I'm sorry, there's a fly on your face. Excuse me.
It's actually just where I live.
No, it's not. Yeah. I apologize. I'm shooting the screen, and unfortunately, there is a fly in here, and it's on the screen. Get out of here, you.
Yeah, I live in a tent in the veldt, so there's a lot of flies around here too.
Well, but it's just such a great pleasure to talk to you, Steve.
It is. So Should I ask my last question?
Please do. We have a few.
Like
we have a
cutting
few.
In line at the doctor's office.
You are.
But I think and get Leo.
Nobody on hold minds one bit. I'll give you the back. I'll give you the special warm line. You can call it any time.
Oh wow.
Yeah, anytime.
I could sell it to people.
Who's this? Steve gave me the number. So go ahead.
As I said, I have a hard time because I do travel quite a bit. That I've had to actually set my computer on one time zone,
right,
and never change it, because every time I change the time zone, my Outlook calendar changes all my appointments by 3 hours.
Right.
And there's absolutely no way that I can figure out to stop it from.
My suggestion is actually to stop using Outlook.
What do I use instead?
I would just use the Google Calendar. And are you a Mac?
Google Calendar does it too.
Are you
Google
Mac?
Calendar shifts my.
Sure.
Yeah.
You have to turn on time zone support, but you actually want that. What you want to do is.
Why do I want my appointment shifted by 3 hours?
When you enter the appointment, get your assistant to do this. When he or she enters the appointment, put a time zone in the entry. So say I'm saying this appointment is 12:30 Pacific time, and then Google will adjust it according to your current zone so that it shows the actual time that you need to know.
Oh, I don't want that. If it's, no, seriously. If it's 3 p.m., if I'm in L.A. and I say this appointment is at 3 p.m.
Right.
in New York,
right.
I don't want to know. I want to know. I want it to stay 3 p.m. I don't put it in. It's really 6 p.m. Fuji time. I don't put it in. I put it in 3 p.m. New York.
You're not alone, actually, and almost all programs, including Outlook, you can turn off time zone support, and then it's just a fixed time. It won't pay any attention to the time where you are. It'll always be whatever time you like to use, Pacific time, I presume.
Well, Outlook, I can do that, but because I'm going through Google. You
have to do that in the Google Calendar. Turn that off as well.
I'm telling you, it doesn't work.
Really?
I've done everything. And my Droid phone, I could not tell it what time zone I was in. It's just anyway. I know there's a greater. I will
Steve. I will research this, and I will ask the greater Leo, and I will research this. We have to run. Steve's book is An Object of Beauty.
It's been great talking to you.
Great to talk to you. Real pleasure. We're big fans. Is it in color on the iBookstore?
Huh? Oh, iBook. I know it's in color on the Kindle iPad.
It is. Okay.
Yeah, iPad app. It's in color. Yes.
You really want to get, and I got the Audible book, and there's no pictures, obviously. And you really do want to either get the hardcover of An Object of Beauty, or you want to get the Kindle version. I'll have to look on the iBookstore to see it. I imagine if Kindle has color, then iBook will have color.
Well, Kindle. No, I'm talking about the Kindle iPad app.
Yes, because on the Kindle there's no color, but.
Yeah,
if you're doing it on the iPad or on your computer or somewhere with color, it'll have color.
Okay, it's great talking to you. I know you have to go.
Nah, I don't have to go. Oh, we're done. We're out. We're gone.
Oh, we're out. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
We're out.
Okay.
I'm gonna, let me ask the chat room real quickly. Chat room, you understand Steve's question about the time zones. There is a setting in the Droid where you can.
Yes, but I've done that. But if for example, right now, my Droid clock says, and I'm in Eastern Standard Time, it says 1 o'clock. And if I change
so there's a setting in the phone that says, in the time setting that says, use the time zone you're in. Now, you don't want that, though.
Right. If I change that, all my appointments shift by 3 hours.
But appropriately by 3 hours, or
no, wrong
by 3 hours.
Wrong by 3 hours.
You're not the first person who's asked this, actually.
Yeah, I know. I've heard people ask before.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's a bug or if it's a. Remember, the guys people who work at Google are not like you and me.
Right.
And they understand it in a way that's different from, I think, how normal users understand it. So I do have many contacts there. I'll ask, and I'll see if we can get the Steve Martin fix.
Yeah, but I'm not really using the Droid. I'm using the iPhone.
I still
have a problem. My computer now, like I say, I have to leave it on Pacific time. If I set it to my own time zone, forget it. Everything starts shifting.
I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to send you a long email with step-by-step instructions. Do you have it? You must have somebody who does your tech for you.
Who does my what?
Your technology.
No, I do every once in a while when I need something complicated, but otherwise I'm doing it. But tell me if you have to go.
Nope.
The way my thing works, I use Outlook, and I sync that to Google Calendar, so my assistant in LA can change my calendar.
Right.
And otherwise, I'm syncing my Outlook to my iPhone.
Right.
And because I'm on a Windows machine.
I'm really trying to think of what the.
But as soon as I change my time zone, then for some reason all my appointments change. So I have to change my time by hand when I move from time zone to time zone.
I'm looking at the chat room.
Mm-hmm.
You do sync the iPhone to Google, not Outlook, right?
I sync it to Outlook.
I would stop that.
Mm-hmm.
And sync to Google. When you set up your Google, your Gmail, I don't
use Gmail.
But you have a Google account. So what you can do is set up the Google account and get the calendar from the Google account as opposed to Outlook. It's actually better because it pushes it. So when your assistant changes it, it'll change on your phone immediately. So you probably do want that. And that you can set up in the accounts. You have to set up it using Exchange. It's a little weird.
Oh, yeah.
But you use Exchange.
I was so suspicious. I used Exchange once, and it deleted all my appointments.
That's not good.
And so I said, I'm not doing that anymore. Everything.
I will send you kind of. I'm watching the chat room. They have some suggestions. I have all the same things. I will work through it and figure it out. But your goal is.
I know you're a busy guy, so don't worry about it.
No, I got plenty of time. But for you, no problem. There's some special people. But I want to understand it. You want to keep everything Pacific time.
No. I want to keep everything at the time I enter it. No matter, whether I'm in New York, if my appointment's at 2 o'clock, I don't want to fly to L.A. and have it say it's at 11 o'clock.
Okay.
Because I'm making an appointment for L.A. I might say, when I'm in L.A., I'm going to meet somebody at 2 o'clock.
Right.
I don't want to do the computation and go, well, it'll be really 11 o'clock. So I've got to put that in.
It's designed to do that. It's designed to say, because I'm going to Paris on Sunday. I put in my appointments at Paris time, but I make sure when I put them in, I say this is Paris time, and when I get to Paris, it'll be actually the real time.
But do you really want to make that calculation? What is?
No, I don't have to.
8? Oh, what?
Well, no, I don't have to because they told me you're speaking at 6 p.m. in Paris. So I write in the Google Calendar 6 p.m. Paris. And then Google Calendar will tell me, oh, that's 9 a.m. where you are right now. But when I get to Paris, my phone will adjust and it'll say, yeah, it's 6 p.m. That's what you want, really.
You're typing in the word Paris time, and it's
you can choose when you enter it in. You choose what time zone that time that you're entering in is.
Oh,
you know what? I'm gonna.
It seems like more work than just saying it's going to be 6 p.m. when I get there.
Well, you're going to do calculation in your head, right? I see what you're saying. So you would enter 6 p.m. You wouldn't give it a time zone.
When I'm in Paris, it's going to be 6 p.m.
See, and these guys, what's happening is all this technology is trying to be helpful. And what you don't want it to do anything. You want it to be just a fixed time. And 6 p.m., I'll worry about where I am.
Yeah.
I'll figure that out for you. Now I understand.
Okay.
Now I understand what you want. Yeah. I'll send you a note that'll have explanation.
Okay.
How to do that.
Thanks a lot.
If you ever come to the Bay Area again, please
I'll drop in. I love it.
We'd love to have you up here.
I love
It'd be
your
really
show.
fun.
Okay.
You're very kind. Thank you, Steve. Take care.
Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. And this is the show where we talk about, stuff with chips in it, digital stuff, tech, of course. 8888 Ask Leo if you'd like to ask me about home theater or cell phones. If you'd like to ask me about iPods or iPhones, Droid or Android. Still talk about computers. I don't know how long that'll last. And of course, the internet, that's omnipresent. That'll be with us. Isn't that interesting how computers are taking a back seat these days? We still use them. But all the attention and all the growth and all the innovation is happening in the little things, the little ones, the cell phones. And then this was the year that everybody started making little computers to attach to your TV, to connect your TV to the internet. So that you didn't have to attach a computer to the internet. They're all computers. I mean, let's be clear about that. They're all computers. They're just small. And really, that's the magic. If you ever really this book was a prescient book. Really kind of predicted everything that's happened, and I think in some ways what's going to happen. But it was written 20 years ago by a guy named George Gilder, who in some ways is kind of a kook. And George, if you're listening, I say that with love. But he's brilliant. And he wrote a book called Microcosm in the, when was that? It must have been the 80s. Microcosm, in which he talked about really everything that's happening today. And he said that the key feature of the revolution that we're undergoing is this really strange property of microprocessors. Normally when, if you think about a Swiss watch or any other kind of mechanical technology, making it smaller means making it more complex, more difficult to engineer, more expensive. You pay a lot more for something smaller when it's mechanical. It's exactly the opposite in the microcosm. In the microcosm, as chips get smaller, they get more efficient and less expensive. So it's a revolution. He called it, the subtitle is The Quantum Revolution in Economics and Technology. And I think it really is. If you want to understand what's going on today and what's happened today, it's important to understand this kind of, there's two key facts. That's the first one, of course, is that the smaller the thing gets, the chip gets, the lower the power requirements, the less it costs to make, and the more capable it is. And then the second very important rule that goes along with all this is that, yes, 20 years old. He wrote it in 1989. 20 years old. It was something we call Moore's Law. Gordon Moore, one of the founders of Intel, one of the early chip pioneers, coined the law 40 years ago, said that this is actually the law. You'll hear it kind of said in different ways, but this is the actual law. Every 18 months, the number of transistors we can put on a chip will double. That really, if you want to translate that into English, means that every year and a half, the power of these microprocessors will double. The power, their abilities, their capabilities will roughly double every 18 months. And that's been happening. He was amazing. I mean, that's been happening for 40 years. So I remember when the book Microcosm came out, we were using 386 microprocessors. This was 1990. At 90 megahertz, you were thrilled if you had 8 megabytes of memory in there. Your hard drive, if you had a 500 megabyte hard drive, you were loaded for bear. You were fat and happy. That was only 20 years ago. And then it doubled every 18 months, doubles and doubles and doubles. And if you did the math, you'd see, I mean, this is exponential growth. This is fast growth. And at the same time, it's getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, isn't it? We can get a computer today on our desktop. This little MacBook Air, which is $1,000, has more power than a supercomputer of 20 years ago, and costs one thousandth as much money. And I can carry it, with 2 fingers if you see the ad. That's an amazing thing. So that's what's happening. But it's happening now. It kind of all happened on the desktop. Then it went to the laptop. Now it's going to tablets and then phones. And these things are getting smaller and smaller. And yet they're more and more capable. But there are problems to solve because as something gets smaller, what gets more difficult? Input and reading. The screens get smaller. The keyboards are non-existent. So we need to make some leaps in other areas, user interface areas, to make these small devices. I mean, eventually, it's completely conceivable that we'll be plugging them into our ear, or we'll have a little jack at the base of our brain you just plug that thing into. That would be the ultimate user interface device. You think it happens. You think the computer knows it. We may, this is the stuff of science fiction, and I'm very hesitant to say what's really going to happen because who knows? Who knew that we would have in our pocket on my keychain 8 gigabytes on a thing the size of a chiclet. I mean, I wouldn't have guessed that. 10 years ago, I would have said, no, come on. That's very science fiction. So I'm not going to say something's not going to happen, but we are running up against some limits. Moore's Law kind of running out of steam. Even Gordon Moore said, we got a few more years, but at some point these things get so small that the quantum effects become important, and you can't even tell what the signal is because it's like Schrodinger's cat. It's two places at once. So there's a limit to how small you can get. We're also running into limits, it turns out, in understanding. Computers, it turns out, are not as good as we thought they would be by now at understanding speech or handwriting. Notice that? They've gotten okay. You can dictate a story if you speak clearly and slowly, and you are willing to correct every word in 10 or 15. But it's not exactly open the pod bay door, Hal. I'm sorry, Dave. I can't understand you. We've got a way to go. And some are saying, I've talked to different people who say different things, but some are saying we'll never get there. And then some, like Ray Kurzweil, say, not only will we get there, but in your lifetime, in the next 10 to 20 years, computers will be indistinguishable from the human mind. They'll be designing themselves and then stand back. He calls that the singularity. There's some debate. We'll see. You know what's cool? Most of us will be here. We'll be able to see how this bet works out. So, yeah, we talk about digital technology, but boy, that's a lot. Something kind of interesting. It's the nature of reality in some ways. My phone number is 8888-ASK-LEO. 888, if you want to talk about this, 888-827-5536. Okay, yes, you can ask me why your computer won't print. We'll talk about that too. 888-82, what is it? I don't even remember. 8888-ASK-LEO. 888-82, I don't even remember the number. 826, oh, forget it. You don't need to call me. Hey, we're going to get a special call about an hour and 15 minutes from now. A very well-known art collector and banjo player is going to call, and he's just recently started using Twitter. I think very well, but he has some questions about the Twitter. He also wants to know about this Android phone. He's been an iPhone user, wants to understand the iPhone, so the Droid X. So we're going to answer some questions, some questions from a very, very well-known. You know him. You've heard his banjo. He's an amazing banjo player, amazing fellow. Got a new book, just came out, as a matter of fact. We'll talk about that, too. A new novel. His first novel. Banjo player, art collector, novelist, comedian, movie star. We'll ask about Twitter in just a little bit. But first, your calls. In fact, coming up in just a bit, Super PC from the East Coast. I think what Super PC is about 12, right? Super PC? 13, 14? He's in that range. He's in that range. He's a youngster. Wants to know about going to high def on YouTube. And Mike wants to protect his hard drive from the government. Just don't take it flying with you. We'll talk about that in just a bit. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, right after these words. Yes, I'm going to interview Elvis. Good guess. Leo Laporte, I'm the tech guy. This is episode 722 in a continuing series to try to understand what the heck is going on out there in this world of technology. You can find more about this show and all my 721 previous attempts at techguylabs.com. You'll also find a link to our fine chat room. You'll also find, which, is a lot of fun. If you've never done chat before, it could be a little intimidating. The chat room is fun because it's heavily moderated and protected. And there are good people in there who will answer your questions and talk. It's really fun. So go to techguylabs.com. Click the chat link there if you want to participate. We also have live video you can watch of me doing the show. Nothing more fascinating than watching a guy talking to a machine. It's kind of gripping. Mike in Glendale, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Mike?
Okay, Leo, here's my question for you. I need the best way to encrypt all sorts of hard drives on all types of computers, laptops, desktops, portable hard drives. I want to use military specification, 256 characters or better. So when I'm going to...
In my opinion, when you do encryption, it is important. There are a couple of things that you want. First of all, Microsoft, Windows, Apple all offer strong military quality encryption on their hard drives. Almost all laptops do it. In fact, some of the more modern laptops use a chip in the computer itself to do the encryption, which makes it really robust. However, These are all closed source encryption technologies, which means they don't show you how they do it. You know, they'll tell you, oh yeah, we do, you know, traditional AES 256-bit or triple DES or Blowfish. All three are very good, strong encryption technologies, but they don't show you the code, which means if, and I don't want to be paranoid here, but if a government agency decided to put a backdoor in there, it could be there. You wouldn't know. If Microsoft made a deal with the NSA saying, well, you know, we'll give you the backdoor, you wouldn't know. In fact, there was a move afoot, which has been tabled, but will probably come back with the next Congress, to pass a law requiring such a backdoor in all encryption. So this might be a good time to go out and get some strong encryption. And if you do, my recommendation is to get open source encryption. That means you can inspect the source. Now, Mike, you're probably not a C or C++ programmer. It probably is meaningless to you to look at the source. But if it's open source, what that means is many who can understand it, have looked at it, have vetted it, have made sure that the algorithms are correct, that there are no backdoors, that it does what it says it's going to do, no more, no less. There really is one program. It's fantastic. It's free. It does exactly what you want, and it does a few other things that might be of real value to you. It's called TrueCrypt, and you can find it at truecrypt.org, TRUECRYPT.org. It does two kinds of encryption, file by file and whole disk. Actually, it will do directories as well, so I guess that's three kinds. But you can encrypt the entire disk. You can make what it does essentially is creates a virtual disk that mounts when you log into your operating system, Windows, Mac, or Linux. It's cross-platform. You give it the passphrase, and I suggest a long, random phrase to make it successful. And there it is. You can read it. It's in clear text, but as soon as you log out, boom, it's encrypted. They even have a plausible deniability feature, which, you know, essentially makes it look like random data on your disk. It doesn't look like an encrypted file. I'll tell you why that's important. Let's say you're hauled in by authorities in another foreign land where they don't celebrate the freedoms we have here in the United States. And those authorities say, you will give me your passphrase or we will torture you. Well, you're going to give them the passphrase, or they could just have a warrant. And you have to give them the passphrase, or you'll go to jail. And this has happened in this country, as a matter of fact, where you go to jail. If they look at something and they can't tell there's data there, it doesn't look like an encrypted file, you can plausibly say there's nothing. What passphrase? I don't know what you're talking about. There's nothing there. And they have no way of knowing that there's, in fact, encrypted data on there. It has a lot of other additional features. You can bury the encryption key in a picture. I mean, it's great. Now, some of you are probably saying, well, golly, what about the terrorists? Yeah, well, that's right. And that's exactly why the federal government, our Congress, is considering, and probably will consider in the next Congress, a law making this kind of thing illegal, forcing a backdoor in all encryption and encrypted technologies for this very reason. But I would say that there are probably also very good reasons for you to have privacy, even from our federal government. So in my opinion, this is something, you know, it's challenging. I admit bad guys can use this as well as good guys. But for right now, this is still out there, still, you know, secure, still pristine, untouched by the hands of the government. TRUECRYPT.org. They update it regularly. Its current version is 7.0. It really is an amazing app. Highly recommended. And I do recommend it over any commercial encryption, merely because you know, people who know can look at it and see what's going on. It's a very interesting philosophical question, though. Should we have access to strong cryptography? And yeah, bad guys could use it, but so can good guys. And I think that there's real reasons why you might have to, you know, keep stuff private. You have, I believe you have a right to privacy. I don't think it's written in explicitly into the Constitution, but I believe you have it. Super PC, how are you? Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hello.
How's Trix?
How's what?
How's Trix?
I guess good, even though I don't eat the cereal.
Tricks are for kids. So Super PC does a video show. Tell us where your video show is.
It's fancyshowtech.tv, but it's also a tech blog, kind of partly in the live show. We now do a podcast called Mac Review Weekly. It's completely different from Mac Break Weekly. Don't worry. It's just we just sit around and talk about Macs.
Oh, I am worried because, frankly, Super PC, you're about to take over my entire empire. In a few years, when well, wait till your voice changes. But in a few years, you're going to be sitting on this ball talking on this show. I have a feeling. Can you wait till I'm ready to retire?
I don't know.
You're in a hurry, huh?
How long it'll be. I'm not in a hurry. I don't know what's happening with that.
It's amazing, isn't it, how it just kind of takes off all by itself?
Well,
so your question is, you say you're going to use YouTube to post the videos. You'd like to take advantage of YouTube's new high-def capabilities, right?
Yeah, I already do screencasts in high def, but I really do want to edit on Mac. I've been editing right now with a Sony Vegas free trial, but soon I'll be switching to full HD and get an HD camera that codecs the i8 you recommended last time.
Good.
I just want to know if there's any software for Mac that would be really, that would be good software.
It comes with iMovie. Part of the software it comes with it. And it's great for high def editing. It's all you need. You don't need to you can down the road get Final Cut Express and then later Final Cut Pro, but you don't need those right now. I bet everything you're doing, including green screen, audio editing, especially the new iMovie, just fantastic. So you get a new Mac today, Super PC, you'll be getting iMovie with it, and it's what you should use. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Did you have a good turkey day?
Very nice. Very nice. Quiet with the family, but very good. How about you?
Oh, yeah. We, again, with the family, the in-laws went down to Santa Cruz. It was very pleasant. Beautiful weather.
My favorite place in the whole world.
Well, I grew up there, so I loathe it.
You went to Santa Cruz High, as I recall.
went to Santa Cruz High. Hey, who's that just wandered through the studio there?
Oh, that was my wife, Joanna.
Joanna, well, just sneaking in there.
Yeah. Hey, listen, in fact, I want to talk to you about her because she has something really cool online right now. There's this movie that just got released called The King's Speech.
I can't wait to see it with Colin Firth as Elizabeth's dad, George the Fifth. What is he? Fourth?
George the Sixth.
Sixth. It's so hard to keep track.
He had a bad stuttering problem
during World War II, and they needed a leader.
That's right. That's right. Now, interestingly, my wife is a speech pathologist, and so she deals with stuttering, among other problems, and someone from the New York Times actually contacted her for some comments about this, and she actually has a fascinating story that she wrote about on a blog called blogher.com, female bloggers, I should say. And if you Google it, it's up near the top of the news for King's Speech. If you Google King's Speech, turns out her grandmother married the guy who Wallace Simpson wanted. Wallace Simpson ended up marrying Edward VIII, who abdicated for that reason. And thus George VI came to the throne.
The woman I love.
That's right.
There's a little
the woman that he loved wanted somebody else.
Well, that must have been
that
depressing.
Somebody else married my wife's grandmother.
It's very confusing. Well, isn't that nice? So she could have been your wife could have been a princess.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
So it's a fascinating story that she wrote about. And
so does she feel like the movie is accurate in the way that I think it was Jeffrey Rush is the actor who plays the speech therapist who gets George VI to talk properly, speak properly.
Right. Well, we haven't seen it yet.
I can't wait to see it. Yeah.
I can't wait to see it either. I'm really looking forward to that. But I encourage everyone to go check out that blog that she wrote about her particular story, which is quite fascinating, actually.
It's at blogher, blogher.com. Blame my grandmother for the King's Speech.
That's right. I mean, if her grandmother hadn't married the Argentinian diplomat that Wallace Simpson wanted, who knows how history might have changed.
Bertie might have been the king.
That's right.
So now you're settling for the Prince of Wales. Imagine.
Yes.
So let's talk home theater. This is actually a good time of year. I imagine there are a few people out there who stocked up on big screen TVs during Black Friday. Maybe you're planning something in Cyber Monday.
Yes, indeed.
And they probably have lots of questions. You answer questions, I should say, at the Home Theater magazine. Well, you're editor-in-chief of the Ultimate AV magazine, ultimateavmag.com. But
and
also
there we cover really high-end stuff.
Right.
But on hometheatermag.com is where I have a column called Ask Home Theater.
Yes.
Where I answer reader and listener questions every week. And I've gotten a bunch of questions, of course, and my apologies to anyone who I am not able to respond directly to because I get far more than I can answer. I answer as many as I can.
Well, let me start. let me start by asking a question from yesterday's show.
Sure.
And I'll do it very simply. The guy has an AV receiver. For some reason, he wanted to have two out of his Blu-ray player, two HDMIs out. One directly to his TV to make it simple, so his kid could just turn on the TV and put a DVD in. But one then going to the AV receiver
for the audio.
For the audio. And for when the kid watches the Blu-ray DVD, he wanted to obviously take the audio from optical out of the Blu-ray player and the video via HDMI. I said he needs an HDMI switcher, but the real question was, are both, here's the question, are both the HDMI and optical audio out of the DVD player live? In other words, if you use one, does the other one stop working?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever tried that.
Me neither. I didn't know. I said, Scott will know that.
I'd have to try it to be sure, and it might not even be consistent. I would have to, if I had to guess at this point, I would say probably so. They're probably both active.
That was my guess as well. Why would they disable one?
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Right.
Now, I'm not sure why you'd want to recommend that.
Oh, don't get into this. I didn't know. I know. No, that's just that was it. Well, let's constrain the question there because you're right. The whole thing is a kooky idea. But anyway.
No, in fact, I have gotten a question, perhaps even this week, about that very question. It was slightly different, which was the guy was sending HDMI from his Blu-ray player through his receiver and then onto the TV, but the picture had a lot of sparklies in it, and he blamed the receiver for that. And he said, "Can I get an HDMI splitter in this case?" Something that takes
that's what this guy would have to use.
It's what this guy would have to use. And the guy who wrote me asked about, isn't there such a thing as a passive Y adapter like there is for analog audio? And the answer is no.
No.
You need a powered device to do that because unlike analog audio, HDMI is carrying lots of bidirectional information.
Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting. So the TV sends stuff back to the Blu-ray player.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Because they have to, A, it has to do with copy protection. B, it has to do with what's called the EDID, the Extended Display Identification. And so the display sends information back to the Blu-ray player saying, these are my capabilities. I'm 1920 by 1080, or I'm 768 by 1366 by 768, or whatever, and other information about itself so that they're talking back and forth to each other. So you need some relatively sophisticated circuitry in order to handle all of that, which is why you need a powered device, an HDMI splitter.
It's kind of like a KVM switch for computers.
Yes, precisely. Precisely right. Although it's for HDMI rather than VGA.
Are they expensive? I mean,
no, not particularly. You can get them in the $100 range.
Okay.
Or
it'd be just like a lot of people. I use these KVM or HDMI switcher, which
switcher
because I have so many inputs to my now with the Google TV, the Boxy Box, the Apple TV. I have too many things. I don't have enough HDMI ports on my TV, so I use a switcher. And I guess an AV receiver would act as that if you have.
It would. And most AV receivers these days have 4, 5, 6 HDMI inputs.
Right.
So that's usually enough for most people.
No, not for me. No.
Not for you and not for me.
Yeah.
I have in my studio, I have by Accel, ACCELL, a 4-in, 8-out switcher / splitter. And we use that mostly for what we call face-offs. So we put a bunch of TVs right next to each other, calibrate them all, and feed them the same signal through this splitter switcher thing. And we can feed them different signals, different devices, this Blu-ray player or that Blu-ray player, game console, whatever, so that we can see the same signal on all of them. So splitters are a very useful thing, not that expensive, and really useful for things like sending the video to the TV, the audio to the receiver, which in the case of this guy who's had sparklies, that might be the problem, though he might also have cables that are too long. So it might not be the AVR, which I detailed in my response to him on Ask Home Theater.
Excellent. You want to do another question? We have to take a break, but if you want to tease it, tell us what the question is, and give us the answer.
The question is, which is better? Audio-video receivers or separate components, preamp and amplifier? And there's a lot of controversy on this.
Oh, I bet there is. I mean, that reminds me of the stereo days where,
exactly,
you get an all-in-one stereo, or you could get an all-in-one receiver, or you could get a amp, preamp, receiver, and all this stuff.
It's even more complicated with home theater. So I'll be glad to talk about that.
More with Scott Wilkinson. UltimateAVMac.com coming up right after this.
Zonk.
Zonk. Zonk. That was funny, Joanna. Joanna ran through the set. Oh, yeah. I forget. Sometimes I forget it's radio. Nobody can see that.
Yeah, except for a few.
Except for a few of you watching at home. In the home version of our game.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that movie, actually.
Yeah, it looks really, really good. I love Colin Firth.
Yeah.
And I love Jeffrey Rush.
Yeah, excellent.
It's a great cast.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's, it's one of them Academy Award December prestige movies. They have to, it's so funny how stereotypical the whole thing is. Oh, you can't release that till December, so you get Academy Award consideration.
Yeah, I know.
And then the crappy movies come out in January. Kid movies come out in June. Oh, boy. DSL Extreme for $12.95 a month. You got to do this.
Let's see. MechMan wants to know if I answered his question. I'm afraid I don't remember it. So can you restate it here?
They gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I guess I should install XChat on this computer.
I talk about it all the time.
Oh boy, I got to tell you, man. After you installed XChat on my computer, my chatting is so much better.
It's easier, isn't it?
Oh, much easier.
It protects your system.
And it just, I set it up for Scott, and I recommend people do this, unless you chat in a lot of different chat rooms, to automatically log him in. So basically, it's basically a dedicated app. You log in. That's how I do it, because I don't spend a lot of time in regular chat.
Bradenton 3913 says speech therapists do get wonders with special needs kids, and that's true. My wife doesn't work with kids as much. She specializes in professional voice users, singers, speakers, actors, radio personalities.
People like me.
Not that you need it.
I used to talk like this, and then Joanna got a hold of me.
Jennifer's sister Judy is a speech therapist who does work with special needs kids. She's really good. Yeah,
and she can attest to that you can actually get really good results.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, it's really amazing. Not just stutterers, but all kinds,
all kinds of problems.
Yeah,
exactly.
All kinds of issues. Lisps.
R problems and S problems.
Yep.
Here's a question. What do I think of using an iPad for sheet music? I think that would actually be a great idea. I don't know. There must be an app.
Oh, there's a new app that's supposedly incredible.
As long as I'm not sure that the iPad would be large enough.
Well, it would have to self-scroll or something. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Because you're not going to get very many notes on there.
I have seen sheet music displays like the iPad with a foot pedal, where when you hit the foot pedal, it scrolls to the next page.
That's what you need.
Yeah. So I don't know if you could do that on an iPad.
Oh, I'm sure there's stuff. I see iPads on stage a lot now.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, happy Hanukkah coming right up. All radio.
It is Wednesday, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Dr. Mom said it starts Wednesday. I guess Sunset Wednesday.
Oh, now I'm getting a bunch of questions. Somebody has an eerily similar backdrop in their family room with a quilt. That's my grandmother's quilt. That's my grandmother's quilt.
Oh, that's so neat. We want to put, we in the new studios, we're going to have a lot of, this wide open, so we have to do a lot of sound treatments. But also, all the walled offices are kind of, they built the office up to, like 10 feet. It's very high ceiling. It's a warehouse. And then it's just the ribs of the office going the rest of the way. Now, what I want to do is for part of the sound treatment, hang quilts up there. It'll be very beautiful.
Have you got an acoustical guy working with you?
We will. We will.
When's the move?
Well, as soon as we build a studio.
Sometime next year.
Here we go.
Hey, Leo, you have a Carbonite live read.
So we'll do one question.
Yeah, no problem.
Scott Wilkinson is here, the home theater guru, editor-in-chief of the Ultimate AV Magazine, ultimateavmag.com. He also answers questions at hometheatermag.com and here. He also does a podcast for my TWiT network every Monday afternoon, 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific at live.twit.tv. But you can also listen. It's on iTunes after the fact. Listen and watch. We do video of it. Who's coming up this Monday?
Ooh, Alan Kramer from SRS. Last week I went down to SRS Labs and saw a demo of a really cool new audio technology that could change the whole shape of home theater audio from being channel-oriented to being object-oriented. And it wouldn't matter then what your playback system would be. The data would include information about where each object is in the sound field, and the rendering device would render that as best it could. So if you had a 5.1 system or a soundbar system, it wouldn't matter. It disconnects the playback system from the audio data. Very interesting. Very interesting.
That sounds neat.
So yeah, it should be great. And this guy is right at the beginning of developing this. So that should be fascinating.
Tomorrow, 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 Eastern, live.twit.tv. All right, you asked a question. Separates or components when it comes to surround sound?
Yeah, separates or AV receiver. And the question that I was asked by the reader was, have AV receivers gotten to the point where they're as good as separates? And the answer is pretty darn close. But I think most enthusiasts would still agree that separates do give you the ultimate performance. However, they're more complex. If you put together a separate system with a separate preamp processor and a separate amplifier, one or more, that is a more complicated system to set up. And it's more expensive, generally speaking. You can get very good AV receivers these days that would give you, 80, 90% at least of that performance. But there are those that want the final extra little 10% of performance, and they don't mind doing the extra work and spending the extra money. The other advantage of a separates system is that if something fails, you can replace that one component without having to replace the entire thing, as you would with a receiver. Or if you want to upgrade, say a new format comes out and you want to upgrade the part of the system that decodes a new format, all you have to do is replace the preamp processor, leave your power amps in place, and you're good to go. This, in fact, is my vote question this week on ultimateavmag.com. So I would love everyone to go and vote there, which is, which do you prefer? Do you prefer the convenience and economy of an AV receiver, or the ultimate quality, but perhaps greater expense and greater complexity of a separate system?
The answer is pretty much the same answer you'd get if you asked me that for an all-in-one computer. Because there, of course, that's iMac, and many iMac clones are all-in-one, and same issue. I don't think it's a quality issue so much as if it breaks, you got to bring the whole thing in. Exactly. You have less expandability, less configuration possibilities, fewer configuration possibilities.
Exactly right.
Scott Wilkinson, good to talk to you. UltimateAVMag.com, and you can email him, scott@techguylabs.com. We'll talk to you again next week.
You bet. Thanks,
Scott. I hope you've enjoyed the show today. I hope you'll come back next week. We will talk about more geek stuff. Actually, if you're on the line, hang on the line. Luis Oliveira, who runs the board, reminds me we're going to be recording some calls. I'm leaving for Paris next Sunday, so we're going to record some calls ahead for next Sunday. So hang on the line. We'll do another half hour of calls at least at 8888 Ask Leo. Good time when we do this to get through, because most everybody else goes somewhere else. You get to have a personal session. 8888 Ask Leo. Have a great geek week. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. See you later.
Thanks for reminding.
Thank you for reminding me.